The following program is intended for educational, informational, and documentary purposes. This episode is based on publicly available court records, archival reporting, historical sources, and criminological analysis. Some scenes, presentation elements, and narrative sequencing have been reconstructed for clarity and continuity. Every effort has been made to accurately represent events based on the material available at the time of production. Any opinions expressed are for analytical purposes only and do not constitute legal advice or formal allegations. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This program contains discussions of real-world violence and mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. A steep, isolated valley outside Bergen, Norway, known by locals as Death Valley. It is a landscape of jagged rock, dense fog, and dark legends. And in 1970, it became the setting for one of the most enduring, unsolved mysteries in modern European history. Just outside Bergen lies Isdalen, the Ice Valley, a narrow ravine carved into slopes of Mount Ökland. From a distance, the valley is strikingly beautiful. Up close, it is a maze of steep rock faces, dense forests, slippery moss, and sudden drop-offs. For generations, the valley carried a grim reputation. Local stories told of people disappearing in heavy fog. Hikers occasionally lost their footing on the treacherous terrain. Over time, the area became associated with a number of suicides, earning its ominous nickname. The valley was also difficult to navigate and search. Weather conditions could change rapidly, visibility was often poor, and much of the terrain was inaccessible. Anyone entering the area could easily go up unnoticed. On the morning of November 29, 1970, a man and his two daughters were hiking through the Isdalen, collecting firewood. One of the girls noticed something among the rocks. At first, it appeared to be discarded clothing. As they moved closer, they realized it was a body. What they had discovered would become one of the most baffling unsolved investigations in modern European history. The body belonged to a woman, but no one knew her name. Investigators estimated she was between 30 and 40 years old. She stood approximately 5 feet 4 inches tall, had dark brown hair, brown eyes, and notably well-maintained teeth. People who later viewed photographs of her constantly described her as elegant, sophisticated, and well-groomed. Yet, despite her distinctive appearance, no missing persons report appeared to match her description. And more disturbingly, it seemed that someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure she could not be easily identified. Bergen police secured the scene and opened an investigation. The terrain was difficult to navigate and further added to the already existing challenges of the investigation. The deeper the investigation looked, the stranger the case became. The woman was found lying on her back among a cluster of rocks. Around her were burned personal belongings, including fragments of clothing, rubber boots, a partially destroyed umbrella, a purse, a box of matches, and several plastic bottles containing traces of fuel. And yet there was something unusual. Although both the body and nearby possessions showed extensive fire damage, there was no obvious campfire, fire pit, or natural explanation for the blaze. The fire appeared to have been concentrated around the woman herself. Then investigators noticed something even more unsettling. Every identifying label had been removed from her clothing. All manufacturing tags had been carefully cut away. Brand names had been removed from cosmetics. Labels had been stripped from personal belongings. Someone had systematically erased clues that might reveal where these items came from. To detectives, this was more than a strange detail. Clothing labels and manufacturer markings can provide valuable information and leads during investigations. They can indicate where items were purchased, manufactured, or distributed. The deliberate removal of those identifiers suggested a significant effort to conceal information. Nearby police recovered jewellery, rings, and a wristwatch. Some investigators later noted that certain items appeared unusually arranged, although no official conclusion was ever reached regarding their significance. Nothing about the scene appeared straightforward. Nothing about it appeared ordinary. The autopsy only deepened the mystery. The medical examiner determined the woman had consumed a large quantity of phenomal, a barbiturate sleeping medication. More than 50 tablets were established to have been present in her system. However, she did not die immediately. Soot particles were discovered in her lungs. This indicated that she was still breathing while the fire was burning. The official cause of death was determined to be a combination of barbiturate poisoning and carbon monoxide inhalation. Investigators considered several possibilities, including suicide, homicide, and other scenarios that could not be conclusively proven. But before they could determine exactly what happened, they first had to answer one simpler question: who was she? And that question would prove extraordinarily difficult. Days passed. No missing person reports matched the woman. No family members came forward. No one, it seemed, was searching for her. Then, a breakthrough. Police began scouring Bergen hotels, transport hubs, and railway stations. At Central Station, staff pointed detectives towards a luggage locker. Inside were 2 suitcases, left unclaimed for days. On a pair of sunglasses in the suitcase, investigators found partial fingerprints. It matched the deceased woman. Finally, police had located her belongings, but rather than solving the mystery, the suitcase only deepened it. Inside were wigs. Combined with the woman's growing collection of aliases, they immediately raised questions about whether she had been deliberately altering her appearance. Investigators also found multiple currencies, maps, hotel receipts, prescription items, and several pairs of glasses. One contained plain lenses, indicating that they were not for vision correction. Once again, the same pattern emerged. Labels had been sliced out of her clothing. Containers had been scrubbed clean. Identifying information entirely erased. Everywhere investigators looked, they found evidence of meticulous concealment. Perhaps most puzzling of all, no passport. Despite clear evidence that this woman had travelled extensively across Europe, no travel documents were ever found. Whether they were destroyed, hidden, or taken by somebody else remains a mystery. Then detectives pulled a small notebook from the luggage. It was filled with a cryptic jumble of letters and numbers. Investigators spent weeks attempting to decipher its meaning. When they finally succeeded, the notebook revealed a secret travelogue. The letters were locations, the numbers were dates. By cross-referencing the hidden diary with handwritten hotel registries, detectives finally mapped her final months. They discovered a woman drifting through Norway and Europe under a web of false identities. She frequently changed her appearance and constantly changed her identity. And then she checked into hotels using at least 4 distinct aliases: Fenella Lork, Claudia Tellet, Genevieve Lancier, Elizabeth Lenhoover. The names changed, the woman did not. Hotel employees across multiple countries described a remarkably similar person. Elegant, intelligent, reserved. A woman who appeared comfortable speaking multiple languages. Witnesses reported hearing German, French, English, and possibly Flemish. Many also recalled unusual habits. She frequently requested room changes, she preferred rooms with a clear view of entrances and exits. Some hotel staff later report that she appeared highly attentive to whether her room had been entered while she was away. The other behaviour struck many observers as very unusual. Whether it reflected caution, personal preference, fear, or something else remains unknown. Then came one of the most discussed aspects of the investigation. The timeline reconstructed from her travels placed her in Norway during a period of heightened military activity. The year was 1970. The timing was significant. Europe remained divided by the Cold War, and Norway occupied an important strategic position along NATO's northern flank. Intelligence agencies from both East and West operated throughout Europe, monitoring military developments and naval activities across the region. Norway was also developing and testing an advanced anti-ship missile known as the Penguin missile. Years later, accounts emerged suggesting that a woman resembling the Isdal Woman had been seen near locations connected to military activities. Some reports claimed she had been observed near missile testing areas. Others suggested she had been seen in the company of military personnel. These accounts were never conclusively verified. Nevertheless, they contributed to a theory that continues to attract attention. Was the Isdal Woman involved in espionage? The theory is often cited because of her multiple identities, extensive travel, coded notebook, use of wigs, and unusual efforts to conceal personal information. However, there is an important limitation. No evidence has conclusively linked the Isdal Woman to any intelligence service. More than 50 years later, investigators have still not established that she was involved in espionage. The theory remains speculative. Decades later, advances in forensics produced one of the most significant developments in the case. Forensic scientists conducted isotope testing on the woman's teeth. The results suggested that she likely spent her early childhood in the broader region between present-day France and Germany before relocating elsewhere during adolescence. These findings aligned with descriptions of a multilingual woman whose accent was difficult for witnesses to identify. But while the science brought investigators closer to understanding where she may have grown up, it still did not reveal her identity. Over the years, authorities and forensic specialists made repeated attempts to identify her. Facial reconstructions were published in newspapers, documentaries, and international appeals. Investigators received numerous tips. None resulted in a confirmed identification. Despite advances in DNA analysis, isotope testing, and modern forensic techniques, the woman discovered in Isdalen remains officially unidentified. So what happened to the Isdal Woman? More than 50 years later, several explanations continue to be discussed. One theory suggests she may have been involved in intelligence work. Supporters point to her aliases, travel patterns, coded notebook, and efforts to conceal her identity. Another theory suggests she may have been living under an assumed identity for personal, financial, or professional reasons unrelated to espionage. Others point to the official findings of the investigation and conclude that she may have taken her own life. The official cause of death was determined to be barbiturate poisoning combined with carbon monoxide inhalation. Yet, decades of investigation, important questions remain unanswered. Why remove every identifying label? Why travel under so many names? Why leave behind a suitcase containing clues? And why did so much effort appear to have been devoted to concealing her identity? After checking out of Bergen's Hotel, Holdenheim, on November 23, she took a taxi. It would become one of the last confirmed sightings of her alive. After that point, her movements become difficult to reconstruct. Records become sparse. Witness accounts become uncertain. Investigators lose the ability to establish a complete timeline of her final hours. No one knows precisely how she arrived in Isdalen. No one knows whether she travelled there alone. and no one knows exactly what occurred during the final hours of her life. Investigators were also left with questions about the fire itself. Although containers containing traces of fuel were found nearby, exactly how the blaze began and why it appeared concentrated around the body has never fully been explained. The circumstances surrounding the fire remain one of the most debated aspects of the case. The woman was eventually buried in Bergen in a specially constructed zinc coffin. Authorities hoped that if her identity were discovered, her remains would one day be returned to her family. The funeral was held on February 5, 1971, in Mollendal Cemetery in Bergen. Investigators believed she may have been Catholic, based on the saints' names she used while she was staying at various hotels, and therefore she was given a Catholic burial. Authorities intentionally documented the event with photographs so that should family or relatives be identified, there would be a visual record of her burial and the final resting place. However, no relatives appeared. No one claimed her, no one identified her. For decades, she remained known simply as the Isdal Woman. Today, advances in forensic science have answered some questions. We know roughly where she may have spent her early childhood. We know many of the places she travelled. We know some of the names and aliases she may have used. And we know the official cause of death. But the most important question remains unanswered. Who was she? Somewhere out there, relatives who never learned what happened to a missing daughter, sister, cousin, or friend. They may not even realise that one of Europe's most famous unidentified persons could be someone they once knew. Somewhere perhaps in an old photograph album, a forgotten letter, or a fading memory, her real name may still survive. Someone, somewhere, once knew this woman. Until their identity is discovered, the mystery of the Isdal Woman endures as one of Europe's most compelling cold cases. A woman who travelled across borders. A woman who lived behind multiple identities. A woman who disappeared so completely that even after decades of investigation could not reveal who she truly was. And more than 50 years later, she is still waiting for the world to learn her name. You've been listening to Criminology Files. Producing these deep dives takes significant time and research. If you find value in our work, please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a review. For case updates and behind-the-scene content, follow us on Instagram at Criminology Files. We'll see you next week. Good night.